Hey guys, my name is Elle. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to paint two realistic watercolor eyes, step by step, layer by layer. So grab your supplies, get comfortable, and let's dive in. First things first, start with a clean brush and lightly wet the skin area around the eye. If you notice the water moving around a lot, that means you've added too much water. But if your brush feels scratchy or doesn't glide smoothly, your paper is too dry and you'll need to add a bit more water. For our very first layer, I'm going in with a diluted orange tone. Be sure to use plenty of water and place your brush carefully. Next, I'm using a light blue for the shadow areas. Since blue and orange are complementary colors, adding blue will create a beautiful natural depth to the skin tones. I'll swatch all the colors I'm using right here on the side, along with their color codes. Now, to bring more warmth to the piece, I'm adding a light red as my next layer. Make sure your previous layer is completely dry before you start this one. Otherwise, your colors will bleed together. If you want to blend the edges softly, use a clean, damp brush. And if you prefer to keep them as they are, that's totally fine. Watercolor layers naturally create beautiful texture and transitions on their own. Here's where we start adding some real depth. Using a brownish color, carefully place the deepest shadows. Keep looking back at your reference photo. This will help you stay accurate and avoid over-darkening areas. And remember, to make an area darker, you don't need to use a heavy, opaque dark color. Instead, slowly build up your values by layering. This layering technique will keep your final painting luminous and eye-catching, instead of flat or muddy. Now let's move on to the eyeball. The white part of the eye is never completely white. It usually has a very light blue-gray tone. Here I'm using a super diluted light blue as my base. Then, with a touch of red, I'm softly painting the edges to make it look more three-dimensional and natural. For the cornea, I'm doing the same. First, the light blue wash over the whole area. Then, with a slightly darker blue, I'm defining the edges and creating a bit of texture. With a really fine brush, I'm adding tiny red veins to make the eye look more realistic. Now for the fun part, painting the eyelashes and eyebrows. Using the same fine brush, I'm taking an opaque black and carefully painting each lash and brow hair one by one, following their natural growth direction. Here's the final look for the first eye. You can pause the video and take a screenshot if you need the exact color codes. Okay, now let's move on to the second eye. Just like before, start by wetting the area around the eye. Then layer your colors step by step. This reference photo has warmer tones, so I'm beginning with a yellowish color for the first layer. Don't forget about the area under the eyebrow. The skin tone there should match the rest of the skin. While the paper is still slightly wet, I'm dropping in some blue for the darkest parts. This wet and wet technique lets the colors blend naturally, creating soft and realistic transitions. Now I'm using a deep orange to push the shadows around the eye even farther. In this reference, there's direct sunlight hitting the eye, so we're layering in more warm tones to capture that effect. Be patient here and build up the tones gradually. Watercolor is all about layers and timing. Next, I'm using a light brown for the really dark parts of the skin. If you use brown too early, your painting can look flat. That's why we build up layers first. It gives the final piece a much more alive and dynamic look. Once that's fully dry, I'm using the same brown but with more pigment to draw in deep lines and creases. Then, with a clean damp brush, I gently blend the edges for a natural transition. Now onto the eyeball. Just like before, start with a very light blue for the whites of the eye, and for the cornea's first layer, use the same light brown you used before, and then let it dry completely. The edges of the cornea are always slightly darker than the center, so I'm darkening the edges and blending inward for a smooth gradient. Once the surrounding skin is completely dry, I'm going back with a orange and brown to create the final deep shadows. And here's a tip. If you want to make your color lighter, don't use white paint. Just mix your color with more water and you're good to go. For the eyelash shadows, use a light brown on the white of the eye and a darker brown on the cornea. And don't blend these areas. This technique is called wet on dry, and it creates sharp, crisp details. I'm using Shinhan Professional watercolors, but honestly, any watercolor set works. Just mix colors until you get similar shades. Now, use the wet and dry technique again and add the eyelash shadows slowly and carefully on the cornea. And then, using a very fine brush, paint tiny red veins on the eyeball to bring it to life. And finally, let's finish off with the eyebrows and eyelashes. Take your time here, work slowly, painting each lash and brow hair individually to preserve the original form and shape. And here we have it. Both eyes are complete. I really hope you enjoyed painting along with me today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you'd love to paint next. Bye!